Imagine sitting down with an entrepreneur who has spent 3 full decades navigating the highs, the lows, the failures, and the wins of business. 30 years of lessons, scars, and wisdom condensed into less than 3 hours of your time. That is what we are about to do today. You are not just going to hear theories or textbook strategies. You are going to receive raw principles tested in real markets and forged through years of challenges. The goal is to save you from wasting years making mistakes that have already been made, and instead arm you with practical, timeless business knowledge that you can apply right now. The first and perhaps most important lesson is that business is about people, not just products. A lot of aspiring entrepreneurs think success comes from having the perfect idea, but 30 years in the real world reveals otherwise. Products change, markets evolve, technology disrupts. What does not change is people and their desires. People want to feel valued, understood, and connected. The greatest business leaders are not those with the flashiest product, but those who deeply understand their customers. Amazon grew into a global giant not because it sold books, but because it obsessed over customer experience. When you put people at the center of everything, your company gains resilience. Another lesson that time will teach you is that cash flow is king. Revenue can make you feel successful, but cash flow is what keeps you alive. There are companies that reported millions in revenue, but they collapsed because money was tied up in accounts receivable, inventory, or mismanaged expenses. Healthy cash flow ensures that bills get paid, employees stay motivated, and opportunities can be seized. Many entrepreneurs only realize this after painful bankruptcies. 30 years in business proves that those who monitor, protect, and manage cash flow last the longest. It is the bloodline of any company. Now let us talk about failure. Failure is not the end, but the tuition you pay to learn business at a higher level. Anyone who spends 3 decades in entrepreneurship will tell you about bankrupt ventures, missed opportunities, or bad partnerships. These failures are often more valuable than the wins because they refine judgment. You start to see patterns, red flags, and traps that others miss. Failure, if embraced, builds resilience. The difference between those who make it and those who quit often comes down to how they respond when everything falls apart. Successful people learn, adapt, and rebuild faster. One of the most overlooked principles in business is the power of relationships. After 30 years, you realize your network is one of your greatest assets. Opportunities rarely come out of thin air. They come through people. A single introduction can change the trajectory of your company. Trust built over years with partners, suppliers, and investors can save you during tough times. Too many entrepreneurs burn bridges chasing short-term wins, only to regret it later when they need those relationships. Those who treat others with fairness, honesty, and respect discover that goodwill compounds like financial capital. Let us shift to innovation. The myth is that innovation is about huge, disruptive ideas. In reality, the businesses that thrive for decades are those that innovate consistently, even in small ways. They constantly ask, how can this be improved? How can we serve better? 30 years shows you that industries do not collapse because of sudden disasters alone, but because leaders stop adapting. Blockbuster ignored the digital shift. Kodak ignored the rise of digital photography. Innovation is not a luxury, it is survival. The best entrepreneurs stay curious and flexible, always scanning for what is next. Marketing is another pillar that decades of experience clarify. The market does not care about your product. It cares about how your product solves its problem. Too many business owners waste years trying to push features instead of benefits. A seasoned entrepreneur knows that effective marketing speaks the language of the customer. It taps into emotion, urgency, and desire. Marketing is not manipulation, it is communication. If you can describe a problem better than the customer themselves, they will assume you have the solution. That is the power of good marketing, and it never fades with time. After years in business, you also learn the importance of systems. In the beginning, entrepreneurs run on passion and energy. They hustle, grind, and personally control everything. But over time, this becomes a trap. The business depends entirely on them, and growth hits a ceiling. The secret to scaling is building systems that operate without constant micromanagement. Processes, automation, and delegation transform a small hustle into a company that can endure. McDonald's did not become a global empire because it had the best burger. It scaled because it had the best systems. Systems create consistency and free leaders to focus on strategy. Another insight gained over decades is that leadership is more about vision than management. Employees do not want to be managed like cogs. They want to be inspired by a leader who sees the bigger picture. Great leaders cast vision so clearly that others want to follow. Leadership is about responsibility, not authority. It is about setting a standard, taking the blame when things go wrong, and giving credit when things go right. The longer you stay in business, the clearer it becomes that culture flows from leadership. A toxic leader breeds chaos. A strong, principled leader creates loyalty. Now, let us pause here. If you have been listening closely, notice how these lessons are not complex secrets. They are simple, but they are rarely applied. This is where most people fail. They consume endless business advice, but fail to implement consistently. If you want to turn these lessons into results, you must pick just one today and apply it. Let me ask you, which of these principles could change your business if you committed to it right now? With that question in mind, let us move to another critical insight: the long game. In the age of social media, everyone is obsessed with quick wins, viral growth, overnight success. But those who survive 30 years know that business is a marathon. Compounding only works with time. Brands grow stronger with consistency. Trust deepens with repetition. The greatest companies are not built in months, but decades. If you enter business expecting fast results, you will quit when the first obstacle arrives. But if you commit for decades, even small daily progress compounds into massive impact. Another lesson learned through decades is the art of negotiation. Business is built on deals, and deals are built on negotiation. But negotiation is not about domination. It is about creating outcomes where everyone feels they gained. Win-win negotiation builds lasting partnerships. Cutthroat negotiation may give you an advantage today, but it costs you opportunities tomorrow. Skilled negotiators understand psychology, timing, and leverage. They prepare, they listen, and they know when to walk away. The ability to negotiate well is worth millions over the span of a career. Decades also reveal the power of focus. New entrepreneurs often chase every shiny idea. They scatter their energy across multiple projects, thinking diversification is safety. But 30 years in business proves that focus builds empires. Apple did not conquer the world by making everything. It focused on a handful of products and made them world-class. Warren Buffett often says diversification is protection against ignorance. If you know what you are doing, focus is better. The entrepreneurs who achieve mastery go deep, not wide. As you collect years in the game, you also realize the importance of personal growth. The business can only grow as much as the leader grows. If you neglect your health, mindset, and skills, your company suffers. Many entrepreneurs burn out because they treat themselves as machines. 30 years teaches you that sustainability matters.